Hey guys, and welcome to what will no doubt be an epic battle, because we have Alfredino and Razel once again going toe-to-toe against each other, and whenever these guys meet on the battlefield, explosions, blood, glory, and epically close games are bound to follow, and it shall be Lizardmen up against Norsca, a particularly fun matchup. It's one I enjoy quite a bit, and it's a real strange matchup. Some people tell me it's Norscan favoured, others tell me it's Lizardmen favoured. Personally, I think the Dinos do have a slight edge, but they're both some of my favourite factions in the game, particularly, of course, the Dino Boys, so I'm very excited to see what these guys bring to the battlefield. Now, for the forces of the Lizardmen, it looks like Alfredino is going to be playing this in a really top competitive way, which is you bring a bucket ton of poison blow darts, javelins, all the glorious projectiles. We have 4 chameleon skinks slotted just in front of the main battle line, going peppering down Norsca, and as a rule of thumb, Norsca don't have the best missile resistance or armour in their forces. We then have skink cohorts of javelins in the main battle line, again looking to pepper the enemy down at range of those javelins and fall back further and further whilst those chameleon skinks dish out the damage. We do have a pretty solid wall though in the third line here. Saurus Warriors can be dotted all the way along, also assisted by the cohort of Sotek, who once again shall be bringing more poison to the battlefield. We have Lord Mazdamundi on Big Boy Zlak. Let's give him a little neck scratch there, boop, 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 just to let him know that he is one of our favourite dinos. He's going to be coming in with Ruination of Cities. We also have Banishment, Apotheosis, Curse of Midnight Wind, Net of Amantalk, and all those good items and abilities, such as the Sunburst Standard, which gives that glorious missile resistance, which is super useful in this matchup, because Norscan generally love to bring those javelins, and it looks like we do have a few of them in the back line. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 javelins in fact. Jeez, that is a lot of javelins, but combined with Plague of Rust, they can do a disgusting amount of damage. In the main battle line, it's going to be cheap and cheerful Marauders. They're a little bit drunk, a little bit tipsy, but they are ready for a good old fat scrap, and they'll be happy to absorb the initial missile pressure, there we go, of the chameleon skinks in the front line. We have some Road Berserkers as well in the secondary line. It looks like just the 1 unit in fact, but they'd be pretty useful at tearing their way through the enemy infantry. We do have a Shaman Sorcerer of Fire coming in with Burning Head and Flaming Sword of Rune, and Wolfric the Wanderer on horseback coming in, of course, with Hunter Champions and his boat, as well as, I believe that's Stand or Die. Let's have a look. Fight or Die, there we go, increasing the melee attack and leadership of nearby friendly troops. On the left-hand side, we have a little bit of a flank overload coming in with a double doggos. We have the Norscan Ice Wolves, as well as the Beasts of Tashnar, Regiment of Renowned Warhounds, who do have that glorious anti-large, a must-pick in this matchup. And then we have triple Skin Wolves, including the Maws of Savagery, Regiment of Renowned Armoured Skin Wolves. Hell yeah, this is bad to the bones. We never get to see these guys in action. They're anti-large, and of course they come with that glorious regeneration. And the other Skin Wolves are also armoured. What is this madness? I never see armoured Skin Wolves. So armoured Skin Wolves don't normally get picked because it does actually decrease their speed, but increases their armour, and I can certainly see the thinking here of the Norscan play. You're expecting a lot of javelins and blow darts. Well, that added armour probably is going to come in rather handy, and the battle is getting underway. The Lizardmen immediately going on the back foot and deciding to retreat back, which is definitely the smart idea, but they're not going to be able to do that all game because of this pressure on the left-hand side by the Skin Wolves and the Warhounds. Chameleon Skinks are slowly darting down Marauders, but again, that's not going to be your best damage for value. But if you can whittle down the Marauders in the front line, that will buy time for the Skinks and Saurus to really tear into their enemy once the front line does get underway. Chameleon Skinks do try to whip around the flank a little bit, but are going to be getting pushed back, and the skink cohorts are now lining up javelin after javelin. The Marauders are taking a huge punishment here on the approach, but again, that is their job. Chameleons get some cheeky little shots into the javelins. Good pressure by the Lizardman player, who's now going to be falling back, just continuously driving back, trying to get the value where possible from those javelins, though the skink cohorts are going to start running out of ammunition pretty quickly. Those guys don't pack too many javelins in their back pockets. Lord Mazdamundi continue to retreat as well. Marauders just absorbing the pressure, but none of the key targets have really been hit too hard. Skin Wolves starting to drive forward on this flank, and the Saurus Warriors, determined to match them in close quarters, do turn around, looking to get that engagement, perhaps trying to set up a spell or two from Lord Mazdamundi by dragging all of these units in one go. Saurus Warriors holding the line, but looks like a Hunter Champions has gone down on Lord Mazdamundi, who's looking to commit to this fight, and a big fat debuff is looking to come in with the Curse of Midnight Wind, with also a Shield of the Old Ones. Good play here by the Lizardmen. But a big boat comes down the skink cohort, ruining one unit. And Sorcerers have engaged now with Marauders, getting pretty good engagements, but the Hunters with Javelins are starting to apply that pressure. Maws of Savagery dive straight into the heart of the enemy battle line, and likewise Skinwolves, realising their debuff to actually pull out of the initial combat, but now whipping and charging straight back in, realising that there's a good work to be done here with Lord Mazdamundi being so isolated. Marauder Hunter Javelins are launching shots in, doing some pretty decent work over on this flank, but it's going to be followed up by a fat burning head, roasting the cohort of Sotek as well as the Saurus Warriors. Yeah, the Skinwolves will take a bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. Burning Head's really designed to take down those tighter packed infantry units. Banishment shall be going down on the Marauder Hunter Javelins, and it's going to be doing some lovely work to them. Oh my god, there's the Scars. It's going all the way down the line of them. May even be able to break this unit off. But the Maws of Savagery are really ripping and tearing apart the thick, scaly skin of the Lizardmen forces on this flank. Saurus Warriors are running for their lives. Skin cohorts trying to get into the back line and shut down the Hunters, but these Maws could easily bounce back at any given opportunity. Lord Mazdamundi is getting a nice hill of apotheosis, so the Chameleons have been well positioned here now by Alfredino to just pour fire onto those armoured Skinwolves. And yeah, you've got 70 armour, but at the end of the day, that's not a huge amount compared to the ridiculous amount of missile pressure the Lizardmen can bring on this side of the battlefield. Saurus Warriors are starting to go down, but the cohort of Sotek have driven through and shattered some of the Hunter Javelins. The other units are in a bit of disarray as well, but the Maws of Savagery have managed to protect them in the centre. And down here in the distance, Marauders are being used in a sacrificial lamb sense here, just to hold back the Saurus Warriors, save these Javelins, and perhaps the Javelins can save them in return by doing decent damage to the Warriors. Beast Tachinat are going to be driving once again into the heart of the enemy battle line, looking just to finish off these Skink cohorts. And now it's getting a little bit scary. All four Chameleons are still alive and healthy, and we get a glorious net catching both of the Skinwolves. Oh no, this could be a bit of a disaster here. Balance power is currently in favour of Norsca, but both Skinwolves on this flank are being forced off due to the really good pressure coming in from the Chameleon Skinks, and you can see these guys just retreat and run. Flee, you fools, flee, flee for your lives. The Card of Sotek are getting dished out now and kind of served on a platter for the Maws of Savagery. Have been such a beautiful pain in the butt for the Lizardmen forces, bouncing all around, and the Javelins have managed to survive, trying to get some crossfire into the Saurus Warriors, hit from either side here, but they may be able to close the gap on the Marauder Hunters if the Norscans aren't careful. The Ice Wolves have managed to jump on the Saurus Warriors, who have got cold-blooded to keep them nice, alive and healthy. And we do get a Ruination come down, trying to catch the beasts as well as the Hunters and the Skinwolves, but it looks like, to be honest, it does more friendly fire, catching the Saurus Warriors, which is a little bit unlucky there by Mazdamundi, who's still going strong, up to 64 kills at the moment, but Wolfric the Wanderer is currently on the prowl. Balance power is in favour of Norsca, but it's looking a little bit bleak for them with so many Chameleons alive and nothing really left to shut these guys down as they continue to pour more fire in. We do have Skinwolves returning to the howls of the Maws of Savagery, bringing them back to the battlefield, and the longer the battle goes on, the better for them. But Wolfric the Wanderer may well get assassinated here, down in a snap of their wrists to 2,300 HP, as the Chameleon Skinks really do start to pour on the fire there. Lucky for Wolfric, there was no net in place, because he may well be a very dead Wanderer at this time, but it looks like the Norscan players trying to get back their breath and assassinate all these targets which push deep into enemy territory to finish off the Javelins, who are kind of fleeing in all different directions. But really lovely late game management now by the Norscans is certainly keeping them in this fight, and Wolfric the Wanderer is fleeing. He's isolated and alone. I'm a little worried for him. If a net does come down by Mazdamundi, he could be in all kinds of problems. He is very isolated from all his friends, and there's a lot of poisonous blow darts lurking in the wings here, but instead he's been used to hunt down those Saurus Warriors. It looks like Mazdamundi instead decided to heal himself up, which again isn't a bad idea whatsoever. Marauder Hunters are going to be launching Javelins in at the thick beast of Zlak, trying to drag him down. The Chameleons once again have been revealed from their hidden positions, and they're continuing to chase Wolfric the Wanderer, trying to drive him away from the battlefield. This unit of Marauder Hunters does get clattered as well by more blow darts, but every blow dart that goes into a Marauder instead of a Skinwolf is going to be a bit of a gain here for the force of Norsca in the late game, because all of these Skinwolves have decent model counts left and they can be regenerated up quite quickly, and the Maws do pounce, hopping on top of the Chameleon Skinks, ripping and tearing those little skink boys away, and we have more werewolves joining the fray. Saurus break on the ferocious impact here, but it looks like it is a bait and trap as a banishment shall be going down. Luckily though for the Norscan player, his micro is top tier, managed to pull back his own troops and line up a burning head on the Chameleon Skinks as a magical rebuttal there, catching the Chameleon Skinks and some really nice damage to them, though this has brought more time now the longer the game has gone on for Lord Mazdamundi to heal himself up. Likewise the Skin Wolves getting healed up by regeneration. Chameleon Skinks starting to run pretty low on ammunition, and all of a sudden it's looking a little bit scary. Like, you can kite as long as you want, but if the enemy, you don't do enough damage with that kite potential, then they're going to come back and bite you. And 100 champions goes down on Lord Mazdamundi, a shield of the old ones, quick thinking by Mazda himself there to try and keep him alive, as all of the Skin Wolves do pounce on their prey. Beast Tashnar are here with their anti-large, whilst the Marauders equally push at the same time onto those Chameleon Skinks, trying to drive them back. Wolfric the Wanderer also going to be getting in there, try to seal the deal, and it's a little bit of a tricky situation for the Lizardmen to get out of, but it looks like they might just be able to do that with Source Warriors pushing in to work as a bit of a defensive foil for the Chameleons, but a boat comes down just a tiny bit shy. It was so close to being timed perfectly there. Does catch one or two Chameleons, but about half a second too late there from Wolfric the Wanderer, who's formed a bit of a Roman death blob here of Skin Wolves. A lot of the Marauders are being forced back though. Likewise the Beast of Tashnar. Mazdamundi's still looking rather healthy, and a lot of the ammunition is running danger low for the forces of Norsca. Despite this, Bance power is massively in the Norscan favour at the moment, probably due to the regeneration potential of all of these Skin Wolves still left on the field, plus the fact that Shaman Sorcerer is still healthy. Wolfric the Wanderer, once again, is going to be keeping at arm's length away from Mazdamundi. He doesn't really want to engage, and I certainly don't blame him. I would not want to get in the way of Zlak and Emil. Chameleon Skinks are starting to run desperately low on ammunition, but not before the Moors savagery are routed here. And once again, Wolfric the Wanderer is pretty dangerously close here to a ton of Chameleon Skinks who have a lot of damage output potential. On this flank, you can see double Skin Wolves once again being forced back. Likewise at the Marauder Hunters, as Mazdamundi continues to drive Zlak into the heart of the enemy. More Skin Wolves do rally to try to pin them in place. A big fat burning head has gone down the line on Saurus Warriors, catching 2 units in an attempt to protect Wolfric the Wanderer, who's actually routing here. A little bit of a disaster for him, but the beasts have returned to the field, and they have bloody Moors. They run straight past the Saurus Warriors, looking to hunt down the Chameleon Skinks and save their master. Wolfric down to just 600 HP. Could take some blow darts to the face, as there is still free ammunition left on the Chameleons, but instead they decide to focus fire down the beasts, looking to try to off-put their pursuers here. Balance power is very heavy in the Norscan favour, which really surprises me. Mazdamundi is still got 3.6k health, and a lot of the Norscan forces are blown to the wind at the moment. I think the balance power is liking the Norscan forces so much because there's a lot of regeneration potential from the Skin Wolves. We still have 9 models here, and up here we do indeed have... Let's have a little look. How many models do we have? We have 7, which certainly isn't too bad, and they have managed to go on to Chameleon Skinks, who really are not going to have a good time here. Even Wolfric's getting back to try to dish out the damage as a bit of revenge for the Chameleons, who've hounded him for large portions of this battle. And once again, between these two top competitors, you can tell these guys are really at the forefront at the moment of competitive play with how good their micro skill is. Really good early game where they were repositioning, the Lizardmen trying to get the advantage in the skirmish game, Norsca trying to shut them down and limit the amount of damage output they had, and the late game, both players desperately trying to get any little goodies, any little advantage they can get, and it looks like the Norscans are currently coming out on top because of the added mobility of their werewolves, who have enabled them to force off a lot of the Lizardmen forces. And it is going to be Zlak against the world, but never underestimate Zlak, particularly with poison support from the Chameleon Skinks and a fat shield of the old ones going down. Now we do have 100 champions ensnaring Lord Mazdamundi, but Apotheosis to counter that. A boat comes down the line, roasting those Chameleon Skinks. And it looks like it shall be Maz versus the world. And while the 100 champions is popped, his melee defense is a whopping 1. That means almost everything surrounding him right now is going to catch him, and he is suffering under the tyranny here of the Skin Wolves, who do have a Flame Sword Ruin popped on them as well, and they're just working as a pack right now. A few of them going down, but at the end of the day, if you can bring down a big beast like Zlak, that is going to feed your army for quite some time. And Wolfric the Wanderer is even getting in there as well, trying to dish out the dirt, although I think he himself wants to leave the fight into the Skin Wolves. He nearly goes down himself, but Mazdamundi is driven away from the battlefield, and it shall be a victory for Norsca. Very well played to Alfredino as well as Razel here. That was an amazing game once again between these two guys. Always a pleasure to host these guys in battle. We actually had a really awesome replay recently with them between Betonia and Chaos, which went right down to the wire, and this game was no exception. Woo, I'm a little bit knackered at the end of that one, guys. That was some pretty damn tough stuff with a bucket ton of stuff going on across the entire battlefield at all times. Really good micromanagement by both these players, and a massive shout out for Alfredino for sending this one in. Hope you guys enjoyed. We will go through the damage dealt and damage value of all these units in just a second. I'm particularly interested to see how the Maws of Savagery and the Chameleon Skinks perform. But before we get there, make sure to leave a thumbs up if you did enjoy the video, as well as subscribing to the channel for more glorious Total War Warhammer content, which we do drop daily. We'll be doing a couple of streams this week as well. Next week we won't have any, I'm afraid, because I'm away for the week. I'm going to be hiking Hadrian's Wall, but I'll be trying to make sure that I have videos going up every single day nonetheless. There are links down below in the description as well if you'd like to support the channel via Patreon or join my Discord, or even get games at a percentage off via my Games Planet account. Feel free to comment down below as well. What was your favourite moment of the battle? What do you think of this matchup? Because it does seem a bit of a Marmite matchup. Some people are convinced Norsca is the way to go here. Others, Lizardmen. Myself, I think it's Lizardmen favoured, but, you know, I gladly hear your thoughts and opinions. What was your favourite moment of the battle? Who is your MVP? What would you like to see in the future? Or simply just yell quack at me. I do really enjoy reading all the comments. But back to the reason you're here and the glorious damage value stats. So Lord Mazdamundi, 94 kills, 2,543 damage value is certainly not too shabby, but he is a rather expensive beastie up on his gigantic mount. The Saurus Warriors across the board seem to perform pretty well. 1,000 damage value, 82 I say so. Bit of a mixed bag actually. 679, 523 and 871, so generally solid across the board. The Cohort of Sotek did a good job as well, pushing into the back line, but those units who did push early on to try to shut down the Javelins, which I think is the right play because the Javelins were realistically at the time the biggest problem for the Lizardmen, needed to be shut down, but eventually the little Skinks who did push through got isolated and slaughtered. You can see the Javelins, for the most part, not paying for themselves, just one unit getting the 630 damage value. Chameleon Skinks, my god, were able to fire for the majority of the battle, 1.3, 1,999, and 1,000 again damage value. Beautiful Chameleon Skink play, and this has become quite common actually with Lizardmen, is this skirmish style of play where you have a wall of Chameleon Skinks, you fall back to your Javelins to unleash a torrent of Javelins at the enemy, and then you fall back behind a wall of Saurus Warriors. It's something I'm trying to replicate quite a lot, because I think Alfredino has really pushed forward the Lizardmen meta actually in this direction and has got some fantastic results working with it. I've seen a game of him up against Chaos actually, where he had a Stegodon as well, even further back, so you're falling back to a wall of Javelins, to Saurus, and then an artillery piece, and my god, is it effective. But Raziel proving that, you know, despite the fact Skirmish is quite big in the meta right now, you can certainly still overwhelm it with some, quite frankly, brilliant play with his wolf contingent. And those who don't know, wolves and raccoons are my favourite animals, so if you do send in replays of wolves or raccoons somehow, there's a good chance they will get cast, particularly if it is as well played as this little contingent down here. We'll get to them in just a second though. Wolfric the Wanderer, 1,158 damage value and just about surviving. Isn't too shabby at all considering he's on his much cheaper warhorse here today. And the 100 champions, of course, is always quite nice. 1,500 damage value by that Firecaster, some really lovely burning heads. One or two of them were well duped by Alfredino. The ones that connected really helped thin out the enemy numbers. Marauders across the board got absolutely slaughtered, pretty much to the last man, as well as the Mauler Berserkers. None of the Norscan front line really paid for itself, but it did absorb a bucket ton of blow darts, javelins, and all that scary kind of skirmish that can come with it, and they did their job. That's what they needed to do today to allow the other units to shine. Speaking of other units, the Marauder Hunter Javelins, 720 damage value, 1,000 damage value, 700, 543 and 246. A tiny bit of a mixed bag. The last few units not performing so well, but the others performing absolutely fantastically, really starting to drag down Mazdamundi and those Saurus Warriors in the mid to late games. Now onto the contingent which I think really won the game for Norsca was the Wolf contingent, with the 973 damage value from the Warhounds and the Norscan Ice Wolves. 848 damage? 188 kills, 211 kills on these guys. Really good job shutting down the skink contingent of the Lizardmen forces. And as for the armoured skin wolves, they got beaten, they got forced back, but they always rallied to the cries of the maws of savagery, and that allowed them to regenerate up quite nicely, getting 1,394 damage value, 1,074 and 2,183 damage value on the Maws of Savagery, who had a decent amount of models left in their unit by the end game. An awesome showdown between these guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one. It was super fun to cast. And until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.